it is really important that we begin to change the mindset of young people to know that your vote counts.
They don't understand that the legislative arm of government is actually a co-equal arm of government.
We have an incredible amount of potential.
Whatever it is I was doing, because of my personal DNA, it had to be of an international standard, which is what, seriously speaking, is all about.
Hello there. It's Seriously Speaking, yes, and it's the month of women, like I promised you. All of this month, I'm talking to women who are bold to create change in their industries. Now, let me throw you one little proviso. Just imagine that all the media in the world was owned by women. Would the world be different? I think it would, but I don't know what you think. Why would it be different? Because there's something about women, about being able to do things with our heart and our heads at the same time. That's just me thinking. My guests today are two great women who have, one is working in an international organization, heading the whole of West Africa, and the other worked everywhere else, and today she works for herself, hiring almost 200 people doing media work. If you don't go away, you get to meet them in a short while. This is Seriously Speaking. My name is Adesuwa Nyenukwe. 20 years ago, my guest started a TV show that's called Inside Out. It's still running for 20 years, but this time she's saying, not anymore. I'm not running that show, but now she's not running that show because she's running Rave TV and Rave Radio all out of Delta and Lagos, right here in Nigeria. Join me in welcoming my baby sister, Agatha Amata. It's nice to have you on set.
It's nice to be here. It's a bit strange to be on the receiving end. I keep saying, gosh, it looks really odd to be interviewed. Well,
Really awkward, eh?
Yeah.
You're going to try.
Yes, I will.
But tell me, I found out, why did I ask you in? Apart from the fact that it's International Women's Day and all of that, you're handing over Inside Out, more or less.
Yes.
That's what you're doing now.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I think after 20 years of hosting the show, I mean, I've met all sorts of people. I've dealt with all sorts of issues. I think it's time to let a new generation handle it their new generation way. And I also would like to try something new. I'm not sure what that something new is yet, so don't ask me. But I mean, Inside Out for me has been more than a program. It has been an education. It has been one of those things that changes your perception of life. It's an NGO.
Yeah, it's an NGO.
I mean, we've done so much in 20 years. I have learned so much that I think it's time to step aside.
What's the best about it, as I round up with you on this segment? What's the best thing about having that voice and giving other people that voice?
It's when you look and you see people grow. People who even didn't believe that they had it in them. I'll give you an example. There's a young lady who came into my office as a cleaner. Today, she handles the camera.
Wow.
Yeah, I have somebody who was sitting at the reception, the front desk, and I said to her, what are you doing here? This is not a job. I think you'll be very good with presenting. And today, she's one of the hottest presenters. It's just seeing people grow and be themselves and growing that space. When I get into my office every day and I see close to 70 young people doing their own thing, that makes up for all the stress.
What made it easy for you to be bold to do all of those things?
I think it's upbringing as well. It's having grown up in an environment where I was always told you can do anything you set out to do, and no is not no. No just means try the next person. That's what my dad always used to tell me. So I mean, even though when I get to really difficult periods, I remember and I say, you know what, this too will pass.
This cup shall pass me by.
Yes, so
I'll take a short break so I can invite my next guest before we go engage in the panel. Thank you, Agatha, for sharing.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, my guest heads the CNN Bureau for West Africa. And when you hear CNN, you're thinking those big, big words. But she's a nice, beautiful Nigerian girl who was hired out of London to come and do this. It's my pleasure to welcome on the set Stephanie Busari.
Thank you very much. It's
Nice
a pleasure to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
What was your first thought when you were transferred to Lagos?
I was over the moon. I've been trying to come back home for a long time. I was born here in Lagos, and I moved out when I was 12. So after more than 20 years away and living in London with a few breaks in a few other countries, I just felt it was time to come back home. You know, it's easy to sit abroad and complain, and I just feel like I should be here to impact the society in any way I can.
Did you think you'd be able to do that with your job, though?
Well, absolutely, because the stories that I want to tell are different stories about Africa, about different stories about Nigeria, you know. I meet, even when I was working in London, I met so many dynamic, resourceful, amazing young people. And I just wanted the world to know about them. And so that really drives a lot of the journalism that I do, is telling different stories about this part of the world.
So tell me why you chose journalism. Was it a conscious decision?
Yes, I've always wanted to be a journalist since I was like 12 years old. I had a really great teacher who encouraged me in my writing, and also, but I'm curious about life, about people. I love to ask questions. I love to find out why people do the things they do, and I love to tell stories.
Why would I describe you as bold? Because of the stories, it was Chibok's story, first attraction, coming back home and coming to set up. Because this is the first time CNN is setting this up.
Yes.
They used to have reporters come in here.
Well, so they've had reporters kind of reporting out of here over the years, but this is the first time they're setting up a digital bureau.
Absolutely.
So we're very focused on, you know, Africa's a young continent, and, you know, a vast majority are on mobile, they're on social, you know, so this is what
So were
CNN...
you scared? That's the question. Were you scared of having this responsibility? So you must have overcome some, you must have had to have some level of boldness to accept it.
I mean, I'm a very determined person, so I never get scared. Everyone has kind of challenges that you have to overcome, but I wanted to do it, so already that just made it even a very exciting venture. Yeah, there are days where I get like a bit apprehensive, but I love what I do, so I'm not scared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since you're not scared, I want to take yourself and Agatha up on the whole issue of women and the narrative of the media and how we can change all of that when I return from the break.
Okay.
Thank you very
Wonderful.
much. I'll be right back.
Thank
So
you.
don't go away. We're back in a few. Yes, welcome back. I'm still in the studios with two lovely ladies who are doing what I love to do, interviewing, and I'm the one doing the interviewing now. It can be fun. I know how awkward it can be, but it's nice to have you. Like I said at the beginning, it's a narrative. I think the narrative would change if more women owned media. Now, I know what challenges you're having. I don't know if, for example, if CNN was owned by a female, it would make a difference. What do you think, Stephanie?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, because a lot of my colleagues and, you know, my bosses are women, like throughout, right to the top of the organization. CNN has a lot of women leaders, a lot of them very inspiring, and, you know, one of the most best-known anchors in the world is obviously Christiane Amanpour.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
She's, you know, she's at CNN. I don't know that it necessarily would, to be honest, yeah.
What do you think, though?
I usually, I don't think it's about gender, really. I honestly don't. I think it's how you see yourself and what story you want to tell. Yeah, women will tell stories from a female point of view. Sometimes that may be biased, sometimes it may be true. Yeah, but I think it'll be boring if women owned all the
media in the world.
I mean, we need to balance it out.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I notice working here as a journalist is that women don't get to speak very often on panels, and so this is
They don't invite them.
Yeah, so you know that's something I would love to see change, and I don't know if more women were running organisations like here and in other places that might change, you know, I think. Women should be given that voice, you know, to kind of appear on panels. Even actually in the West, you know, BBC's organising specific courses for women. They want more women to be experts on their air.
I think there's some
it's a global problem.
I mean, on this side of the divide, there's some kind of stereotyping. Like when you come into a media house, what do you find the females doing?
Presenting.
They're either presenters, front desk.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of jobs that you find for women. And so we go for an NBC forum, and then they're saying, you know what, studies have shown
the NBC is the Nigerian Broadcasting
Commission. Yeah, and then they say, and somebody gets up and says that women only watch telenovelas.
Oh, wow.
And men watch the news. And I'm saying to them, I don't even know what channel the telenovela channel is.
I tell my brother.
So, so, I mean, you can imagine that you're already boxed, and so nobody expects... They seem to think that because you're female, there's a kind of way there's a perception of where you belong.
Yeah. Doesn't this go back to the family? You know, because that's why with this International Women's Month, I'm also trying to look at the issue of, I have been able to break out because I believe I came from a family that was in a particular way. Is that the same thing for you and for you?
Absolutely. My family prized education very highly.
For boys and girls?
For boys and girls. I mean, I'm the first of 4, so I was always encouraged to be the leader, to, whatever you do. I was, they were harsher with me in a way. Whatever you do, your brothers will follow, so make sure that you excel and make sure, so I was encouraged to excel. I was encouraged to be the best I could be in everything. It's a typical, why didn't you come first? But I'm second. I came second. Why didn't you come first?
Yeah,
but
I think that's important, and that's where women, I would say, have a huge role to play. My house, my brothers cook. We had the days when...
Did they come before you or after you?
I have a brother ahead and one behind, and then the last. Now, there's a day that when the boys have to cook, when we're growing up, their food was usually pounded yam. And they used to give them really difficult things. All my brothers cook.
Yeah.
So cooking was not a thing for females.
Yes.
I didn't grow up in a house where you would say this is for men and this is for women. And, every time I go to speak to young girls, I say to them, this is funny. All through your life, you have competed on a level playing field with the boys.
Yeah.
From school, when you come first, you don't come first among girls.
Because you're female, yes.
Secondary school, uni, in the workplace, and then suddenly they tell you you have to reduce yourself in order to find a husband. That's where the problem starts.
You agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to. I've been in situations where, just because of the kind of program I host, where you hear a woman say, if she gets a second degree, who will marry her?
I know. No, it's ridiculous.
So what's the repercussion of that? Because now our theme for the International Women's Month, Be Bold for Change, one of the side themes is equal pay, 50-50 by 2030. Meaning that men and women will earn the same thing. Is that an issue in Africa?
Absolutely. I think absolutely that's an issue because, you go to many enterprises, you go to many companies, and at the top, the leadership are all men. And so women aren't, at the higher you go.
Is that because women don't aspire?
No, it's because...
I'll use my organization, for instance. One of the first things I said is we must have a creche.
Right.
So we have a creche. Because as a young working mother, I don't think you should give up one for the other.
When it comes to work, we shouldn't just say choose work or family.
No, you shouldn't. But I feel like women, when you get to a certain point, after I achieved a lot very quickly, but then you get to marriageable age and it's like everyone's, okay, what's going on? Are you going to get married? What's happening? And so you feel like all your achievements are minimized until you get married, that your biggest achievement...
We're not saying marriage is bad here, are we?
No, we're not saying marriage is bad, but it's not the greatest achievement you can have as a woman. And don't minimize yourself and don't diminish your efforts. I'm going to wait till I'm married before I buy a car, before I do this. Don't do that.
If you're married to your friend...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is easy because the person wants what is best for you and what makes you happy. And so marriage should be what brings out the best in you.
What are our final words for our viewers today on the issue of being bold for change?
Being bold for change. Just go for it. Go after what you want to do. Don't let your gender or perceptions about your gender hold you back. Women have achieved and can achieve many great things. So,
Your dream.
Yes, go for it.
Dream big.
Yes, always. No limitations. Gender can never be a limitation. It's actually an asset.
But it has some side effects, though.
What
it does have. Sometimes people will think you're a terror.
Well,
I don't think people think I'm a terror. I honestly don't. I think my staff love me.
But what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being a terror?
They know that I draw the line. Work is work and play is play.
Yeah.
We don't mix both.
Yeah.
And don't think because I'm female, I'm going to let some things slide. Because I didn't get to where I am doing that. So,
absolutely.
For you to, again, it's the stereotyping. If a man did that, nobody's going to talk. If a woman does that, she had a bad day, her husband insulted her, what happened to her on the road? People start to look for reasons other than facing what the issue is.
Which is why this whole month I've been talking to women. The question remains in having strong women who trust what they do
Yes.
and who
Very
do it well
important.
enough that nobody can say,
Absolutely.
You know, nobody can take what you guys have achieved away from you.
no,
You're
you
pretty
can't.
and you're raising kids who are successful. So the question is, we must raise our children right and ensure that they do, especially the boys.
The
if you ask me.
boys, it's very important because boys are going to be fathers and husbands, and you know, raise them to treat their wives and their girlfriends as partners, not as slaves and not as lesser than them. That's very important.
Thank you very much for being on the show. I appreciate it. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes, it does.
So it wasn't
Thank
so
you for
bad
having
being
me.
on this
No,
side.
it wasn't.
It was a conversation.
It was a lovely conversation. Really great.
Thank you very much. If we have not been able to convince you with all our arguments that you're better off raising sons that will be great husbands and daughters that will be great wives, as an aside, that's not what defines them. So for me, that's what being bold means. Being bold to be who you are called to be. A Mr., a Miss, or a Mrs., or a Ms., whichever. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next week.